They say grief changes a man, but they never tell you how. One moment, you're joking with your teenage son over a cold beer about how, if he doesn't go to college, you'll take the money you've saved for him and spend it on a solo trip through Europe, drinking beer made by monks of all people. And the next moment, you're standing in a funeral home, planning the burial of the same boy who once laughed at your dumb jokes, and you're being asked, by your ex-wife no less, if you'll hand that college fund over to her new husband's son. This isn't fiction. This is my story, and I still don't know if I'm the asshole. My son was smarter than me, by miles. So smart, I once joked that I needed to get a paternity test. He couldn't possibly be mine. That's a joke, of course. A stupid, self-deprecating dad joke kind of thing. But it was our thing. We laughed together a lot. He was 12 when his mom and I got divorced, 14 when she remarried. I followed suit at 16. We made it work, as much as any family torn in two can. And even with the broken pieces, we kept building. I'm just a baker, been one for years, but I saved for him. Opened an RESP. That's a registered education savings plan here in Canada. I told him, look, you don't have to go to university, but if you don't, I'm using that money to fly to Belgium and drink beer brewed by monks who only sell one case at a time. It became a running joke. A story we repeated so often, it started to feel like tradition. He'd just roll his eyes and say, better hope I flunk, old man. But he didn't flunk. He got into McGill. I took him out for a beer to celebrate. We toasted his future. And, in a weird way, we toasted the death of my European beer fantasy. That dream died when his acceptance letter came in, and I was glad it did. That night, that was the proudest I'd ever been. Not because he was going to one of the top schools in the country, but because he wanted it, and he earned it. He planned to study microbiology and immunology, said the pandemic changed everything. He didn't want to watch the world break again. He wanted to be part of fixing it. I didn't understand half of what he talked about, but I listened. I nodded. I baked bread. I knew yeast. He knew science, and I was proud. Then, in March, everything shattered. He was walking home. A drunk driver ran a red light, and just like that, he was gone. The funeral was a blur. The days after, darker still. My wife, not his mother, my second wife, was a rock. She held me when I couldn't hold myself. And God knows I couldn't have done any of it without her. My ex and I, we did our best. The grief was raw between us, but familiar. We shared him after all. Until she showed up and asked that question. We were sorting through arrangements, caskets, flowers, the unbearable details of death. She sat across from me and said, "What are you going to do with his RESP money?" At first, I thought it was curiosity, but then she asked me if I'd consider giving the fund to her stepson, not our child, her new husband's son, a boy who, while decent, never shared a roof with me, never called me dad, never shared a moment with me that would warrant a favor, let alone thousands of dollars. Her husband made it clear years ago he wasn't going to contribute to my son's expenses. Not college, not extras, just food and shelter, basic care. I never held that against him. He wasn't cruel. He wasn't unkind, but he wasn't a parent to my son. So I asked her, why should I now pay for his? She called me irresponsible. She said I was wasting money, throwing away potential. But I told her the truth. I said I was going to do what I always said I would. I was going to Belgium, to drink monk beer, in his honor. I told her. It was a joke we shared for years. A dream, a ridiculous, bittersweet promise between father and son. And now, with nothing left but ashes and silence, it was the only thing I could do. I'm not pretending it's smart. The RESP requires me to give back the government's portion. It's not a financial win. It's not an investment. But it's not about that. She didn't get it. She said I was being stupid. Said I should use the money to do something meaningful. And maybe she's right. Maybe flying across the ocean and sitting in a dimly lit abbey, raising a glass of West Veteran 12, the most exclusive beer in the world, to the empty seat beside me. Maybe that isn't meaningful to her. But to me, it's everything. That beer was supposed to be a joke, a backup plan, a someday. Now it's a memorial. It's the last shared laugh between a father and his only son. I've had people ask if I'd consider donating the money, maybe set up a scholarship, maybe do something for other kids, and maybe one day I will, but not yet, but not right now. I need this. I need to pack a bag, to get on a plane, to wander through the countryside, to find that small abbey that brews one of the rarest beers in the world, to sit in the quiet and hear his laugh again in my memory. I want to drink what we joked about for years, and I want to cry when I do, because if I don't, I might never stop breaking. So, am I the asshole? I know how it sounds. College fund, dead son, European beer. It sounds like a sad dad midlife crisising his way through grief. But if you ever lost a child, if you ever looked at a shelf filled with books your kid would never get to read, or a backpack that will never be used, you'll know. There is no logic in grief. There is only survival. And for me, survival looks like a plane ticket and a glass raised to the sky. Not for closure. There's no such thing. Just for him. Just for the joke. Just for the love. So again I ask you, am I the asshole? Or am I just a dad trying to keep a promise? This story hit hard. Because underneath the monk beer and the Europe trip is something every parent, every person can feel deep in their bones. The ache of unfinished plans. The weight of a future that never came. This wasn't a man wasting money. This was a man honoring a bond, keeping a promise only he and his son understood. We often talk about grief in terms of moving on. But what if it's not about moving on, but carrying forward, carrying the laughter, the absurdity, the love, and sometimes carrying it all the way to Belgium? Here's what I'll leave you with. If you had one last joke to honor someone you lost, would you tell it? Would you live it? Or would you let someone else convince you it was stupid? Because sometimes the things that look foolish from the outside are the only things holding us together on the inside. Let us know in the comments. Would you have done the same? And if you've ever had a moment where grief and humor collided, we want to hear it. You're not alone, and neither was he. Thanks for listening to AITA Story Vault. See you in the next one.